Right. Thank you for staying with us. And the conversation, as we have been saying, is about politics, governance, and the state of the Nigerian nation. And it's been, disturbing for many persons who believe the wheel of governance, proper governance, has been hindered, especially in the last few months, by huge politicking. And in the words of Mr. President, early politicking, especially as 2027 election is concerned. There are, all-cycle elections in Anambra, Ekiti, then in Osun. That of Osun gubernatorial election will be, this time, August next year, 2026. But then, not just even about the governorship elections alone. The national politics have been hot, heavily politicking, a lot of these things that we are seeing, and many Nigerians believe it's affecting. But some will say it is not unusual, but they usually wait. Some will say it's all towards maybe like 2026, a year that precedes the elections. That's where you're expecting many of these things to happen. But right now, you're having it in 2025 as early as 3-4 months ago. And these are some of the things we are seeing. And the issue that we're having, the challenges of security, or insecurity rather, which is staring us at the face, even when those who should know appear to be denying, because when you have the NSA repeatedly saying things have improved, we are not where we used to be, and there is a sharp departure, and things are now, maybe not 100%, but we are moving, and just are saying no. Even made an example of Benue that things have really changed, and I'm sure many Benue indigents will be watching him with a very disapproving eye to say, what do you mean? Same in Plateau, same in Casina, and all of these places that we are seeing. How about government being responsible? There's the issue of fiscal recklessness. And these are an allegation that cut across party lines, even at the national level. The president has come out in many instances to say the pains of his hardline policies he knows is hitting hard on the people. But like the figurative and proverbial pregnant woman, you might be in pain after 9 months, then you will see the joy. But Nigerians are saying, when will the joy come? More than 2 years into the administration. But then there appears to be a big gully between the ruling class and those that are being ruled. While the rulers or the political office holders are telling the people to hold on, they are living an ostentatious lifestyle, buying the vehicles, buying private jet for the president, changing fleet of cars, building government houses, even at the state levels. Same has been said of Ademola Adeleke in Osun State, Governor Inu Ayaya in Gombe State. Governor Seyi Makinde is planning to splash almost 64 billion naira on the government house, and some of them don't even make this money as IGR annually. They don't have it. This is where we are talking about politics, governance, and the state of the nation this morning. Who is better to discuss this than somebody who knows? And this morning, we are having a policy strategist and law and governance expert. He's the director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and a visiting professor at the Emerald Energy Institute, University of Port Harcourt. He was associate professor and head of Department of International Law and Jurisprudence at Bayes University, visiting research fellow at the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, and the pioneer chairman and chief executive officer of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, we have virtually joining us Dr. Sam Amadi. Good morning, Dr. Amadi. It's good to speak with you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. You're making your debut on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television.
Thank you so much.
All right, doctor, you are here, you live here, you work here, and what is happening is not new to you. You have been, I'm sure, many forums discussing these. Here we are, I'm sure you had my introduction. Politics, governance, and the state of our nation. Where do we even start? Let me just have a general impression of what we have become, where we are right now.
Well, I think points of both material deprivation of a severe nature and also of a mental and emotional ill health of the people. we are at a point where Nigerians would say that not that things are just bad. It looks like there's little hope now of things being better. So a period of, like the former governor of Ekiti State said Nigerians poverty, hunger, but also helplessness, and huge disappointment. The situation is very bad, and this is not just politics. So we're not talking about who is responsible, but the facts are that across the country, people are worse off. People feel terrible. People are struggling in many ways. Insecurity, the level of whether it's in the north or the south of Nigeria, the west and the east, in cases of kidnapping, killings, and the police not being able to track, protect, prosecute. We see very glaring cases of youth unemployment. But the worst is that we are also seeing a growing sense of irresponsibility on the part of government. So, yes, there could be situations. Nations go through periods of inflation, periods of distress, but then you see responsible governance, political leaders struggling to solve problems, political leaders attuning to those moments, speaking more reassuringly to their people, and basically identifying and also living their life in a sense of responsibility to the moments. The contrary is true in Nigeria. In spite of this poverty, we see growing, extravagance. We've seen irresponsibility use of public finance. We've seen greater estrangement. Leaders are not attuned to their people. Even this time, they are more repressive, more irresponsible, more disconnected. So this is where we are now. Not just that people are material deprivation, not just that inflation is high, not just people are paying more for power and paying more for some other essentials, but they are also experiencing a more disgusting, distressing kind of government irresponsibility or recklessness.
All right, Dr. Amadi. I'd like to ask you, what are the implications of this perception of fiscal irresponsibility on Nigeria's relationship with international partners like the US and, of course, global financial institutions?
Well, a country needs to be broke, and citizens going to lose government. It's a predictor that their country's economic outlook in the future will be bad. So essentially, everything I see points to the fact that the country's is bad, and that is a major factor in deciding how the rest of the world will be. So, obvious.
Dr. Amadi, I'm afraid we're not getting clear audio signal from you. Okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
I said, if your economy is that bad, stagnant, and people are not enthusiastic about the future, and the government is reckless and perhaps overspending, the fiscal distress shown by a debt, increase in debt, shown by increase in debt to GDP ratio, increases of debt to revenue, then it signals to investors and the international community that their economic outlook is terrible, and therefore it has impact on investment. So this social condition then creates its own self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning that because things are this bad, we expect that they will be bad in the future, and then we don't invest, and then we make it worse. So that's a cycle of gloom and failure.
All right, Dr. Amadi, you mentioned debt. Right now, there are fears. I mean, some analysts, some critics have said Nigeria's debt might actually rise to about 180 trillion naira by December 2025. In what way do you think this rising debt profile will affect this label of fiscal irresponsibility on the part of our leaders?
Well, the debts are growing, but the worst is that revenue is not growing. So that enhances the debt to GDP. We used to say that, okay, we are borrowing, but our debt to GDP is low. But now our debt to GDP ratio is high because our GDP is declining and our debts are rising. So we would now get to more than 50% of our GDP. Debt is more than 50%, which is now crossed the global threshold of 40%. Again, but the worst is the debt to the revenue to debt servicing, meaning how much of our revenue we use to service debt. At some point, we use up to 98%, meaning for every 98, 1 naira we get, we spend 98 servicing, not even paying the debts. And that means we need to almost borrow 100% to run the national budget. So the debt, I think, this 25 budget borrowing component will be up to 15 trillion. So that's very bad. And the implication for this is that it constrains. We need to make a lot of investment in capital projects to create capacity for economic growth, to improve human condition, reduce poverty. And these things are not going to happen because you don't have the fiscal space to make those kind of investments. So that creates some problem. Again, because of this debt overhang and shrink in a debt in what we use to service because of the debt is going to take a lot, debt service will take a lot of our resources. We now have to underinvest in human development, leading to more poverty and leading to more conflict. So in every way, it also damages the quality of citizenship and the quality of leadership and creates a violent society, which is a society of poverty.
All right. Now, Dr. Amadi, the discussion this morning, the broad topic is politics, governance, and the state of our nation. Line after line, the political part of these conversations. I said something earlier. You are the director of the Abuja School of Politics, so you are eminently qualified to talk on this. And the president talked about that early politicking when he was, replying and answering some questions about the opposition. In fact, he said those who have triggered early politics. Now, Nigerians are saying, is it because the president or the ruling party are softly moving around with their own brand of politics and then, welcoming people from different parties, from different states, opposition governments before becoming part of them right now, the ADC coming into the fray and, getting traction and all of these things. And this is 2025, August. This is not even 2027. How significant is this? You expect many persons averagely will think this should be happening in 2026, the year that preceded the election. But, almost 2 years before the election, we are very much neck deep. When I mean we, the political players, the country and everybody, is it that is unusual or that is what really matters right now?
Well, two things. First, it's unusual, but then many factors contribute to that. First, I think it's caused by the fact that the government is struggling and has not been very successful in driving economic development policies. So government itself started politicking too early. The fact that the opposition started thinking about removing it from power the way they did to PDP in 2015, means that we're now faced with a contrived political emergency where the ruling party is doing everything to make sure it does not lose the election. And then the opposition party is gearing up, opposition coalition is gearing up to make sure they lose the election. And so governance suffers. So this is usually too early. And the reason for that was that two factors, that the government itself abandoned governance and started doing some political betting. And then the opposition itself felt that the way the same party came to power in 2015 through a coalition, they have to do that. They follow the same script. The result is that the quality of attention to the crucial economic and social issues of the day, economy, security, has dropped. So we see 24 hours, the president is either responding to politics or strategizing, the party issues around who's going to be vice president, who's going to chair the party, how do we stop the opposition from stabilizing, necessarily becomes priority. And the implication is that already the government is failing. It has to, if it continues on the political trajectory, then it loses its focus on the economy and things get worse. And to survive in power, then, if you're not posting good results, you have to use the dark arts of politics. You have to become, either find political strategies that are not going to grow the economy, that will further lead to violence or lead to division in the country. So it's not a very good time for the country, in my view. It would be better to allow governance till the end of this year, maybe the last quarter of the year. We'll start talking about politics, and then we'll now enter 2026 dwelling more on politics. So we started too early, and the result is that we're not going to have very great results in the economic and governance fronts.
All right, Dr. Amadi. What role do you think the National Assembly has played in enabling or checking this alleged fiscal irresponsibility on the part of the Nigerian government?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, what role has the National Assembly played in enabling or checking this alleged fiscal irresponsibility on the part of the Nigerian government? I
think they have compounded it. I think they've been an enabler, because under the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the Debt Management Office Act, the real control over fiscal management is National Assembly, because first, borrowings have to be subjected to the National Assembly for approval, and the law provides that before the National Assembly approves, they have to be sure that the government has provided a real cost-benefit analysis that convinces the government, the National Assembly, that the borrowing in all its dimension, in the context of the benefit for the country, in the context of the relevance and the need for it, in the context of the terms of those borrowings, are justified. So that's part of the oversight responsibility of National Assembly. So the government has to submit a full and cost-benefit analysis. Is not just about we need this to build this road. You have to provide how would that project contribute to economic development in the short, medium, and long term, and how is it better than the alternatives? So if you have done that, maybe some of the coastal road project probably would have not been approved. So the National Assembly's lack of legislative engagement, the inability to demand the government, the executive, to provide the required constitutional and statutory presentations and ideas and content before they approve debt borrowing is a major cause of the fiscal responsibility. Again, they have general oversight in terms of appropriation and budget to ask what is being used, what have it been effectively used, and to generally control. If you look at the budget that the government presents, that's where fiscal responsibility starts. You look at maybe too much deficit because of projects that are white elephant, that are basically not necessary and not useful. Those fall within the ambit of the National Assembly. So I would say that they are largely responsible for right now because they are not doing their work.
So, Dr. Amadi, you're saying basically that the National Assembly has been enabling rather than checking the fiscal irresponsibility. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
All right. Then in that case, how do you think this will affect investment, foreign investment? Because the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been saying, they are encouraging, direct foreign investment. looking at our debt profile and this reports released by the US, this has been read by several countries. How do you see this affecting foreign investment in Nigeria?
Well, like I said, foreign investment is regulated by the general economic outlook. So if your country is fiscally unbalanced, and you're not the US, if the US has deficit, nobody will care much because it has a capacity to continue to, it's a world-leading economy, and so people don't really care. So this is really, so if you're not the US, you're not a major manufacturing country, you don't have a comparative or competitive economic advantage, and you have very terrible fiscal profile. You have terrible debt to GDP, debt to debt services. First, your balance sheet will not be positive enough to attract confidence that how much import you can do and backstop with your reserve. That's number one. Number two, it leads to fragile economic system. You underinvest in your citizens, the earning power will be low, purchasing power will be low, and so the capacity of Nigeria is part of a large population to sustain a thriving business will be limited. So if the economy is poor, if poverty is high, it means that consumption will be low. And so that will constrain economic production. And that means that investment will not likely consider a country a good place. And of course, this the social impact of this fiscal pressure is increasing violence and criminality, and that further damages the business environment and the economic competitiveness of that country. So it's evident that this has an impact for investment.
All right. The issue of politics, I'll take you back there. And, you have addressed the issue of the early politicking, but now with what we are seeing, in the last election, towards the general election, it was, the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party came strong with the Obi movement, and the NNPP, holding sway in Kano and some other states with Musa Kwakwanso, Dr. Abi Musa Kwakwanso on the ballot. But it seems maybe we have another dynamics in our hands right now with what we are seeing. The PDP is there struggling to put his house in order. The APC are welcoming governors, senators, reps by the day, and some are thinking, if you are saying, according to some people, that the government of the day under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, possibly they are not delivering, and people are suffering, and all of these things that we are seeing, how come they are welcoming the campaigns? In fact, in Delta State, the old government from the PDP moved over. Umoeno has moved in Akwa Ibom State. Governor Ademola Adeleke in Osun State was rumored to move, but then he's saying he's going to stay with the PDP, but we support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the next re-election. Some of these things is what we are seeing right now. The ADC has come into fray. They are having some big weeks. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, David Mark, Rauf Aregbesola, Nasir El-Rufai, Bolaji Abdullahi, many of those guys. And we have what we have right now. Doctor, let me ask you, in fact, putting the ADC on the border now, are we about to have another APC on our hands? And this is what I mean. You know what happened pre-2014, 2015, very vibrant, even when some will say it's propaganda, the vehicle that they used, it doesn't matter now, does it? Because they are now in power 10 years after. Do you think the ADC, as they are getting traction right now towards the next election, do you think they can pull another APC, if you understand me?
Well, yes, they can. I mean, there's no, it's still long, and so far the camp is growing. But whether they will maintain the coherence as the leaders just for political office is another thing. Whether they have a natural leader that like the APC had, and whether they will quickly recognize a candidate who can win, as they did in 2015, is a different question. So they have the potential to remove the incumbent party, the ruling party, from power in 2027. It's a potential that they have, but the outcome will depend on how they manage the many variables. One, they have to how they control and contain the ambition of their leaders, how they converge diverse political interests, the North-South divide. The interesting thing was that in 2014, APC, everybody agreed that it should be a northern candidate, even though there was a few, one or two Rochas or so who ran for the South, but it was not serious. Everybody knew it was going to be the North, so they all agreed. Is there going to be that consensus in APC to say it should be South for now? Second, Tinubu sought out Buhari, who had a popular base, a popular support. Some people are saying give it to P2B, who seem to have the popular support now in terms of youths. With APC leaders come together and find one person and say this person is the one who has the charisma now, the following to really and back the person up and bring in their own base. Tinubu had to turn in the Southwest to support Tinubu's Buhari's usual 10 million votes. And that gave Buhari the breakthrough to win. We did not do the same for a certain president to win. So these are all up in the air for now, or maybe in a couple of months it becomes clear whether they're able to solve some of these problems and emerge as a national movement as APC did.
All right. Now, we'll talk more about governance right now, and maybe we'll focus more on the states. I made mention of some state governors, not just only them, state government splashing billions, on projects that the IGR in their state cannot even pay for. Many of them buying fleet of cars, changing cars for the state House of Assemblies, houses of assembly, this issue of building and renovating government houses. Every tenure, every administration want to change and renovate government houses. Sheyi Makinde, Ayaya, all of these people. And we talked about, my colleague Daniel talked about fiscal recklessness, as even seen. There is an African report. We'll look into all of that, but that will be after now. Doctor, I'd like you to just hold on. And of course, our people, we take this quick break right now. When we're back, we'll continue with that conversation. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, looking at politics, governance, and the state of the Nigerian nation. Stay with us.
That's when the idea of the